Conscious elder leadership, character and life expression. So we're considering at a certain age where some of us are at. I think Chris is the youngest one here. But no matter what age we're at, we're looking to provide, you can say, character and life expression, a life influence, a generative life influence into our worlds. So being a conscious elder. So see, these are some things I've been meditating on, and maybe you can affirm them too. And I'm sure you'll have your own list, but considering along here, being a conscious elder leader, their character and life expression says so in every age and stage of life. And in the beginning, I talked about in every age and stage of life contributing. They
Mhm.
hold a place of perspective, wisdom. You can mute your mics. They have a sense of what is fitting. They have a resiliency when challenged. Conscious elder, they're not governed by their weaknesses and yet has no inordinate pride of their strengths. So there's a mentor of ours, Yoranda, by the name of Yoranda, but he mentioned that we're not to be governed by our weaknesses, but we're not to be overinflated also by our strengths. There's a balance there. They have the ability to remind people that there's something larger than themselves. There's something larger beyond just themselves. They play their part with others and being an influence of life. They play their part with others and being an influence of life. It's not just an alone thing. It's a shared thing. And that's why having a little breakout time where we can meaningfully connect, it's so important to connect with each other.
Mhm.
And they know, if you can mute your mics here so we have a clean recording on this. They know that the purpose of life is to fulfill its natural design and progression. So there's a mentor also from years back. His name was John Wascom, and he did a lot with looking at the Fibonacci spiral in terms of how we actually grow as individuals. And as Ursula was saying before, how we expand as individuals. So they know, a conscious elder knows the purpose of life is to fulfill its natural design and progression. So John has some work left by one of his students by the name of Rose, and his work is called Life's Design, of actually moving with life's design according to, you can say, the Fibonacci type spiral. So it's interesting in itself. That's something we might want to explore maybe at a future meeting. So looking at this, and Ursula was making the point about expanding. So to be a conscious expanding elder, so last month, I spoke about being in a healthy way, conditions for health. But here you can say when we're in a state of well-being, and serving as a chiropractor and as a heart math practitioner, I know that the body's physically set up in a say conditions for health. You say something extends from us. There's a field that extends from us. And when that field extends from us, it needs to continue to expand. But when things start to come along, things like where we get worldly entangled, when we're watching the news and we say, how can that person ever do a thing like that or think like that? How worldly entangled we can be and how careful we have to be. Talk about conscious conscious awareness of vitality consciousness, being aware when we're entangled, and then possibly looking to be stuck in past identities. You know, sometimes I have to catch myself and say I'm a chiropractor, but I serve as a chiropractor. My identity is not a chiropractor. I serve as a chiropractor, but I may use that term to make it simple for people in terms of what I do. But I'm careful to realize in myself that my identity is not a chiropractor. I serve as a chiropractor. And then dominantly self-centered. You can say that there's an aspect of self-centeredness for all of us, but when we're dominantly self-centered, you can say our field begins to collapse. Our world begins to get smaller. And when that happens, our nerves can get irritated, our heart rhythms go off, and we're in a state of, say, dis-ease. And this is where we're unconscious. We're an unconscious contracting elder. And then going back again with Ursula said, if we're not expanding, we're contracting. I think you've heard of that principle before. We can't really stay in one place. Either we're growing or we're contracting, expanding or contracting. So we consciously recognize when we're contracting and then seeing what it takes to move back in the direction of expanding. And that takes something. So what does it take to keep expanding? It takes personal practices. It takes integrative activities like what we're sharing tonight. So valuable to be sharing these things. And then making corrections. So let's look at in terms of personal practices. Leadership personal practice. Now, this is something I do every day. Maybe you do it yourself. Maybe you have your own twist on it, but every evening I have a practice. So I consider what went well today. And there is a book called The Gap and the Gain by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan, where it talks about, you recognize there's a gap sometimes between how you want to be and how you actually are, but actually focus on the things that did work well, the gain. What like meaningful conversations did you have during the day, or what small wins did you have? Acknowledging those things, and as we do them, then it helps assist us to keep moving in that expansive direction. But then also, to be honest, where did I struggle today? Sullivan had this to say as a theme: all progress begins with the truth. So recognizing at night when I might have been struggling with something or challenged with something and I got entangled with it, but to be honest within myself, and then to see what did I learn or realize from that. Especially before you go to sleep, in terms of clearing the field. I love this aspect of clearing the field. And that relates to, looking at the things we might be struggling with, or even the things we're doing well, to affirm what we're doing well, to recognize the things we might be struggling with, and then seeing, okay, what do we learn from that? And when we have a realization relative to the things we can do better, a realization is a blessing. And when we can feel a blessing, we feel the greater feeling of knowing a blessing, then that allows for a clearing of the field. It clears our heart. Our heart comes to rest in a certain, you can say, deep realization. And sometimes it takes time before that realization comes. So then I consider, what intentions do I have for the morrow? So I actually write those down. I find, again, writing things happen when you write things down. And then in the morning, my morning practice, what's called morning resourcing activities, practices. So personally, I do what's called heart math to help entrain my nervous system in a state of coherence. Then I use a form of what's called brain tap, which uses neurological input. Again, all of this I've talked about on the past sessions of the Conscious Healthy Aging platform. So all this is logged there in terms of if you want to learn more about those things or just be in touch with me. And then a form of exercises that I do. And then I'll write out a prayer. And then journaling and gratitude. Again, giving thanks and praise is such a key. If we ever think about keeping our heart in place by our conscious mind, is the attitude of praise and thanksgiving and gratitude. That really helps to reset some switches, especially in the morning, to set some switches. And then writing out my intentions for the day. Again, I find writing out my intentions, it happens, the things happen. And then how I live out my intentions for the day. So there's a certain way I consider my intentions, but how will I live them out during the day? So I have a certain process that I go through with that. So bring it together meditation. So let's just come to rest here. We shared a bit in our talking it together. Now let's just consider maybe what I just shared and bring it together in terms of a meditation type time. So if you want to sit up straight in your chair, feet flat on the floor, you may want to put your hand, this is a little bit heart math exercise, your left hand over your heart if you're comfortable with that, or just leave your arms to the side. And then you may want to close your eyes and begin to breathe. And breathe as if you're breathing through your heart. Place your conscious feeling attention on your heart. Imagine your nose on your heart and you're breathing in slow through your heart, uprighting your spine, and breathing out through your heart. Again, breathing in through your heart and breathing out through your heart. And then this is a little twist too. Keep your left hand on your heart And your right hand on your solar plexus, your solar plexus. Think about that, letting the sun shine through you. So breathe in through your heart, breathing in slow, and then breathe out through your solar plexus and feel, you can see the sun radiation going through your system and out into the world. And breathing in through your heart. And let the sun shine through your solar plexus out into the world. Breathing out through your solar plexus. Okay, one more time through your heart. And then out through your solar plexus. And as we affirm our reason for being as conscious elders, no matter what age we're at, we feel a sense of invigoration, a sense of integration, and a sense of personal responsibility to let something sound and sane be sent into the world, be influenced into the world because of us. And here's our reason for being as conscious elders, being really who we are in essence, letting our natural design and fulfillment, life design, be fulfilled once and for all. And as we move along in this way, we look to consider more and see what else might be in the works for our works to be done together as a blessing to the world.